All right. Okay. Wasp's new uniform for the Ant-Man and Wasp update. We're going to take a look at it now in detail. Previously, she was, she's always been, the original Wasp. She's always been fantastic support, but her damage was low, and her survivability, even with the bubble, her shield dome, it was very limiting, and especially once Pierce became more and more common, increasingly common in the game, having to stand still in that bubble, it was no longer a really safe place. It was the best place for her to be, but it made her really vulnerable standing still, because if it's a character with Pierce, she's just in trouble no matter what. So her first skill with the new uniform, let's take a look. Nice long iframe and multiple debuffs. The iframe the protection does end, so it's a partial. It ends early. That last revolution, that spin she does, that's kind of like Iron Man's one-off skill. Watch this. So she's flying around, protected, and then at the end, not protected. So it's definitely a partial iframe. If you were to use one, you would want to cancel the very end. Because, let me see, she's probably rooted. Yeah, you can't move until that spin is completed. So, second skill. Another nice long iframe. That one looks like a full, though. Yeah, that's a full iframe on her second. Okay, so that's cool. Third is the buff, as previously. It's just a buff, just like before. Fourth skill, let's go. Okay, so this is another partial. It's just so interesting the way they do these. Nice long iframe duration, though, for the protected part. She throws a car? What? That's cool, like in the movie where there's a tiny car, she throws it, and then hits it with a PIM disc. I think it's all big and crushes. That's pretty cool. That's from the movie. All right, so really cool strafing run, and then throws the disc at the end, or the car at the end. Let's see, so protected, not protected while she throws. So that's going to be a tough choice, because the car throw is probably going to do decent damage, but you're totally unprotected while she does it. So again, you're probably going to want to cancel the tail end of that, which is kind of a bummer. Now the fifth, this is where her bubble used to be. But with the uniform, as soon as she lands, here's the great part. It moves with her now. It doesn't last as long as Nadia's, I don't think. I think Nadia's lasts a little bit longer, it seems like. I'll have to double check that. But pretty much the same skill animation. Iframe. But it looks like, did they not fix the problem? Okay, so a problem, a vulnerability with Wasp's fifth skill before was that she was iframe protected on the way up, but and about half the way down. But on the way down, right before she entered her shield, there was a little gap where she was not iframed. And in timeline is where you would really feel that problem, because Wasp versus Doctor Strange in timeline was actually not too bad back in the day. She was actually a decent counter to Doctor Strange, both with her debuff removal and her shield, right? She was pretty decent against Doctor Strange. But the problem was that little gap in between, you know, when she flies up and then returns back down at the very end, that gap between the top of the bubble, the shield, and her descent back down. If the AI and timeline timed their skill just right, like Doctor Strange, for example, could one-shot you in that little gap before she gets into the shield. So it just always, anytime that happened, it always just felt bad, you know, because you're using your fifth skill that's supposed to protect you. But then that tail end where she's dropping back down gets you one shot. So, and I'm trying to watch and see. It's really hard to tell because it's kind of simultaneous. Like, she's protected, and then simultaneously the protection goes away right when she comes back down. So that'll probably require some more testing to see if whether they fixed that little gap or not. Depends on when the buff kicks in. You know, because you still see that dome. It really depends on the timing of that. So just to be aware, that was a problem before. Hopefully it's not a problem now. The best way to test that is going to be World Boss and probably Shadowland. Timeline, you're not going to really want to be using Wasp as a damage dealer in Timeline. Most people now have either Angel or Jean Grey in the lead spot, which serves the purpose of removing debuffs. So Wasp has sort of fallen off out of the Timeline meta. So that's probably not going to be much of an issue for most people. But that is just something to be aware of. She's great for soloing Rumbles in Shadowland. Because of her shield and her debuff removal, she can solo a lot of different kinds of content in Shadowland very nicely. So that's probably going to be the place where you're going to want to test this and see if it's a problem or not. Initial impression, it's really hard to tell until we actually get her into Shadowland and see. But overall, I like the addition of more useful damaging iframes. Nice long iframes. And AoE, okay? AoE was something she was sorely lacking, was multi-target damage before. You know, her little laser pew-pew-pews from was, you know, single target only. She was lacking multi-target. So the fact that these iframes hit multi-target is a really nice improvement. And again, of course, with these new uniforms, you're getting stat boosts. So that is going to improve her DPS a bit. So overall, I like this uniform. The previous uniform was really, it didn't really matter if you had it or not. Not really. It added that little silence, and it like, you know, it was just kind of a nice icing on the cake type of purchase for Wasp, but it wasn't really required because you're using her for the debuff removal, her tier 2 Winsome Wasp passive. So, you know, previously the uniform, it kind of didn't matter if you had it, but this one, I feel like this one is definitely worth having. If you have Wasp and you use her frequently, then you know, I'd say why not? You know, this is a good uniform. It does make some really nice improvements. Makes her more widely viable with the multi-target DPS. Gives her, you know, some multi-purpose ability that she didn't have before. So I like it. All in all, I like it. So there you go. That's detailed review on the Wasp, the new Wasp uniform.